Welcome everybody to GMC's 2020 Sierra Elevation Duarmax Diesel. This is the first time I've encountered this latest generation of the Silverado and the Sierra, which debuted last year, and this engine debuted shortly afterwards. Now, the Elevation is one of the mid-spec trims for the Sierra. It comes standard with the 2.7 litre four-cylinder engine, and this new 3 litre inline turbo diesel comes at a $4,800 premium, which, as you'll find out later in this video, is well worth the price. But there are quite a few aspects to this truck that lead me confused on where I want to lie in my ranking system of this truck, because there's a lot of things I really like and a lot of things that I really don't. So please watch to the end of this video, where I think I've come to a fair conclusion of this truck and how it stacks up against other trucks in my ranking system. So let's get behind the wheel, go for a drive. I'll share with you the good and the bad, and finally wrap it up at the end and see how this truck stacks up. So when it comes to reviewing this GMC Sierra, it's quite split down the middle of how I feel about this product. There's one very significant side of the bad and one very significant side of the good, the things that I like and what I don't like towards this truck. And really, what I don't like all kind of encapsulates and surrounds the interior, because this all new product came out only last year and it already feels like a dated product. And I think the biggest reasoning for my opinion in that respect is that it doesn't really strike me as all that different to the generation that came before it. It doesn't, to me, look like they did enough to really separate what is a substantial, thorough regeneration of this product, and the Silverado as well. Even though I am in a mid-spec trim and I have cloth seats, the way that the center stack is laid out, you don't get any bigger screens up here, because this is the largest 8-inch screen, and I feel like there's just a lot of wasted space, because the buttons for the climate control, although they're all laid out sensibly, and anybody that gets into this truck for the first time will know how to operate everything, it just feels like there's a lot of wasted space. Look how much black plastic is around here, and really the only color that's brought into this cabin is this piece of silver that surrounds the vents and trails down. Really, you've got to hope that whatever you're listening to on the standard Apple CarPlay or Android Auto has good, colorful album art. I just find the overall experience of being inside this truck to be uninspiring and a bit empty. And looking at the differences between this trim and where you go onwards in this product, yes, you'll get leather surfaces on the seats and maybe the interior colored scheme, which change around depending on what you decide to trim on your vehicle, but it just doesn't seem like enough of a leap for me. It doesn't seem to me like they did enough in this department of the Sierra. All of that being said, though, it is a nicely built product. There's been no rattles or squeaks. Everything feels incredibly solid. You'll find the harder plastics down below, but that's really not uncommon at all. In comparison to the Ram that I just tested out last week and plenty of the other trucks in this segment, it doesn't feel like there is a lot of storage space either in the center console. This space here isn't all that deep. Yes, we've got some nice cutouts on the side where you could throw your magazine or a newspaper, but the center console doesn't cover up at all. You don't have any more cup holders. Yes, there are 2 glove boxes and another good section of storage space right up above your touchscreen. But again, in comparison to the Ram, I just feel like it's a smarter designed space. They've done more with the interior. Leaving behind my comments of the interior, there isn't much more that I find to be negative with the overall experience of this truck. So let's move on to the things that I do like about it. First off, I think it is an effortlessly good looking vehicle. I don't think they overstyled it, don't think they tried too hard. Looks different enough from the previous generation as well, so I really like the way this thing looks in this trim, color combination, the black wheels, all looks great. There are some nice details like having the GMC logo or Sierra hidden throughout the vehicle. And I really appreciate how these trucks have that little side step in the rear bumper to help you reach into the bed if you're not tall enough to just reach over yourself. It's something that I wish every single truck had. Let's move on to the things that are great with the Sierra, and everything that goes along with the driving experience is pretty damn good. This might just be the best driving truck I've ever come across. Steering is very nicely weighted and you've got a great sense of control over the truck. Of course, it's massive like everything else in the light duty pickup space, but it isn't over boosted or light where I think Ram is certainly on the other side of that spectrum where it could become too light, a bit too easy to drive. This, I feel the responsibility of the mass from this truck, from my inputs behind the wheel. This Elevation that I'm driving has the all-new 3-litre inline-6 turbo diesel engine. It produces 277 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It's an additional $4,800 to go from the standard engine of what is currently in place for this Elevation trim, which is the 2.7-litre inline-4. And honestly, I think it's absolutely worth the money. It's incredibly refined at idle, really not that loud from the outside of the truck or even when you're pinning it to try and get up to highway speed. Acceleration is effortless. The automatic stop-start system snaps on and off very quickly. From behind the wheel, it really does feel like I'm driving a perfectly reasonable, well-tuned car. It isn't until you go on the highway where I've noticed something a little bit strange with the suspension on this truck. So if you go over a bridge and have multiple expansion joints going at highway speed, you'll notice that the front of this truck lifts up a little and the rear leans back just because of those multiple up and down motions. It almost feels like it's leaning a little more on its rear tires. It's not a terrible sensation, but it's something I have noticed that I've never experienced before in another truck. Driving about in town with this Sierra is fantastic. The visibility all around is very good. And I feel like with the aids of how good it is to drive, that I've always got a very good sense of where it is in its lane, so it makes it easy to drive and easy to park as well. Let's finish up by talking about some of the smaller aspects of this truck. First of all, the rear seats. Sizable enough for any adult. Me sitting behind myself is no challenge at all. It is important to note back there though that the rear seats don't have as much functionality as some of its competitors. The seat bases fold up and you've got a nice storage compartment down there, or a very close to flat floor if you need to haul along larger items inside of the cabin. And there's this interesting detail where the seat backs, a portion of it, open up for hidden storage. I think that's a clever feature, but perhaps a missed opportunity that the seat backs don't fold all the way down. It's just not something you can do in this truck. And finally, with this truck, it has some additional features in the bed. You see it's got LED lighting, fixed anchor points to tie down items, and a household plug-in. And that concludes my very divisive opinion on this GMC Sierra Elevation Duarmax diesel. Let's park up and conclude this video. So that's everything I wanted to say about the 2020 GMC Sierra Elevation diesel. Yes, it's a vehicle that has left me quite split. This has honestly been one of the hardest conclusions I've had to come to when testing out a press vehicle. So although I like the way it looks on the outside and how it drives, it certainly doesn't stack up to its competitors if you are going like for like against the F-150 or the latest generation of Ram. So I think where I want to leave this video is saying that the GMC really is something that you should consider owning. I do think it's a good overall product and I think it will last, but if you're someone that knows the GMC brand well and you've had them for many, many years, you'll just want the new one. But if there's someone that's looking to buy a light-duty pickup truck for the first time, it's the first time they've ever got into this category, I want to place it in this ranking as I do think it is one of the better driving experiences you can come across, but certainly compare model to model across the 3 different manufacturers and determine what it is you're really looking for. So that's been everything from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watching this video. I greatly appreciate you here sticking till the very end. If you wouldn't mind liking and sharing and commenting, all those things are absolutely fantastic for me, but subscribing is what helps me out the most. So thanks a lot, and I hope to see you again here soon.